Welcome to the ALX show, where we talk faith, family, and all things real estate. Let's get to it.
Hello, Josh, and welcome back to the ALX show. After a brief hiatus, but I'm excited to get into some more episodes because you guys are launching a new solution that I can't wait to hear more about, and a new business unit, whatever you want to call it, but it is a private lending offering, and you are calling it Silverton Capital. So before we get into some of that, I would love to hear more of the larger vision, maybe for the ALX, family of businesses, and what you guys are doing. What is the vision that you guys are setting out to do within DFW Real Estate, and how does Silverton help that vision? So, if I could recap and briefly summarize, and please correct me if I get any of this wrong, but I know there's ALX Real Estate is kind of the flagship business, which is an investing business, real estate investment. And then you've got ALX Realty, which you are a realtor and a broker on like single family side, as well as multifamily properties as well. So if anybody wants to buy or sell a house, please talk to Josh. He's great. And then you've got Silverton Capital, which is for private lending. So tell me just like really briefly about some of these businesses and then how they relate, but also, yeah, just like kind of a larger picture. Like, what are you about? What is the Alexander family about? And I know it's not a family business, quote unquote, but yeah, I just would love to hear like some bigger pieces about where you guys are headed.
Yeah, that's a great setup. Thank you. What we're about overall is about providing quality solutions. That's who we want to be. So we've found within real estate some areas that we think we can excel at, where we think we've got certain giftings in, and we want to use those to help people. So what do I mean as far as like what areas in real estate that what we found so far is being a capital provider is really probably the best place for us to fit in. But we don't want to just be your typical capital provider. You come and you apply for a loan and you either get it or you don't, and you just kind of move forward and then you move on. That's of course, that's an important aspect of lending, right? That is ultimately the service that borrowers are coming for, but we want to do more than that. We have a lot of experience in residential real estate in a lot of different forms. With flipping houses, we flipped a lot of houses. You mentioned I'm a realtor. We've done hundreds of transactions of real estate transactions on the residential side, and then we've done a lot of developments, whether really redevelopment, townhomes, condos, single families in downtown Dallas and Fort Worth, and a couple on some towns outside, but primarily there. And then here recently we've done several syndications where we pursue multifamily and own and operate. So what we found in doing all that is we've got experience in all these different aspects of residential real estate, and so we think that we can use that, right? And if I go into the extensive to our team, go a little bit further, we've got commercial lending. We've got more operation. Christian has flipped several homes. He owns storage. Anyways, my point is we've got a lot of experience in a lot of different places over many years. So we want to take that and give it to our borrowers, so the people that we're working with. So yes, we want to provide capital. That's ultimately what they're coming to us for. That's the need that needs to be met initially. But we also want to be a resource for them. How can we better serve you? How can we help you so that not only your project's successful, but so that you're successful? We can talk about some of the things that we've learned, some of the mistakes we've made, how we would have done things differently if we were going back and doing it again, and just passing that along to where these men and women that do want to work with us or do want to borrow from us, from this new entity, from Silverton Capital, they feel like not only are they getting the capital they need, and it's convenient, and it's working for them, it's functional for them, but they also feel like they've got someone on their side that can be a bit of a consultant or a guide in case they maybe they run up into an issue where they've got something stalls in their project. Well, we've been there. Or maybe they have an issue with a subcontractor. We've been there. We've we've dealt with a lot of these things. So the vision for us as far as ALX is to be more than just, like I said, more than just someone who fills an immediate capital need, but someone that can come alongside you. Yes, fill that capital need. We understand that's ultimately what you're here for, but beyond that, we want to do more than that. We want to help. We want to be a part of your success. We want to provide services, some intangible services that you don't have to pay for. These things that I'm talking about, like this asset management kind of consulting or project consulting or budget, consulting, what advisory. All those things I'm not talking about as add-on services. I'm talking about that's just what we want to do. We just want to help people be successful. We know that if we focus on that, then the company will take care of itself. The business will be just fine. But we want people to feel like when they come to us that they're getting more than just what you would expect from a typical lender. And that goes across all boards. As far as ALX Real Estate, what are we doing there? We're raising for investment projects. And our whole vision there is that's a different clientele, right? You're speaking to investors over there, but we want our investors to be well informed and have a good experience and to trust us and trust the process, and most importantly that they continue to work with us. Like we want them to have the type of experience that one, that they tell other people. We all know that referrals are the best thing in any business. But two, that they're excited about the next deal. The best question we get from our investors is, when's the next deal? That means that our level of service is where it needs to be. They're feeling good about us and the products that we're providing. On the realty side, which is the third piece of this, it's the same theme. We want to serve in a way where people are going to feel good about the experience, feel good about the outcome, know that they're well taken care of, and ultimately trust that we're always going to put their interest first. We're gonna do what we need to do to make sure that they're well taken care of, and that we will be here for the next one. That'll be something that we do consistently. And then also, if they need us after the fact, there's things that pop up all the time in home ownership or property ownership that we're not going anywhere. That we want it to be very relational, and we want that relationship to be beyond a transaction. But to set up future business, but also just to know that we're here if you need us. We're here if you need us, and when we conduct business with you, we do see it as a very relational thing. That's not done, when the contract's signed or when the project ends, but that relationship carries forward, and we hope that it leads to more business. But even if it doesn't, that doesn't matter. Like it's still, we find a lot of purpose and meaning in just serving people well.
I love that you put such an emphasis on relationships, because that's all this is anyway. I mean, just how you relate to people, like you said, the experience that they have. But another component that I would love to hear more on is something that you've mentioned before, where you feel like Silverton Capital and staying more on the financial side of the real estate game is it's something that's more meaningful to you. It's more joyful. It's what you guys enjoy to do and wake up feeling good about it, and that it's more sustainable, like long term, like as a business, as a human, as a family. Like this is just something that's really important to you. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I think the sustainability comes from doing what we want to do, doing what we know we can get up and win at, and consistently win at over the long term, over many years. And a lot of that goes back to just, we're trying to figure out who God created us to be, and we learn more about that, every day, or we're hoping to learn about that every day for the rest of our lives. And with the experience that I mentioned before, we've had different experiences, whether whether it be in the operational side of the business, property management, construction management. That's we've experienced several different parts, roles, or kind of parts of the process when it comes to doing residential real estate projects. And we've just found out over the time, hey, some things we really enjoy doing, and some things we just don't. And we realize that the things that we don't enjoy doing oftentimes are things that we weren't supposed to do. That they're supposed to be left to somebody else who's better suited to do them. So a big part of that is just knowing who you are, knowing who you were created to be. And we believe at this point in time that we were created to to be. I mean, who you're created to be is beyond what you do as a job, but the natural like characteristics and abilities that have been put into us as a team work really well in the transactional and financial space of real estate, of these real estate projects. So if we feel good about that, if we have peace about that, and we have confirmation about that, then it means a little bit more to get up and go to work. Like especially if we're called ultimately to be salt and light, to lead people, to God, to lead people to Jesus, then it's going to be really hard to do that if you're not good at if people see you doing something, you're just not good at it, or you're not having joy in it, or you're kind of walking around with your shoulders slumped or your head down. And a lot of reasons, maybe that's just because you're not able to live out your God-given skills in the job that you're currently in. And that's something that you should think about. And that's something that we think about a lot, that not only just in the pursuit of where we're going as a business, but is each person in the right seat to do that? Like collectively as a business, we believe that's a good place for us to be for where our skill sets are collectively, but then also individually. Are you in the right seat? Are you able to win every day? Are you able to be you every day? Are you able to live out who you're created to be? And is that a role that, that's sustainable long term? Like you're going to be able to grow in that for a long period of time. And it's taken us years to figure that out. And we got years to go, but I've been in real estate now for 15 years. And I feel like this is kind of a culmination of a lot of that experience, is figuring out, and thank God that he's shown me over several years that kind of guided us into this place, to where, this is who you are. This is what you should be focused on within this industry. Who you are, like I said, is a lot bigger than what you do for a job. It's who you are internally, who you're created to be. But is that being able to flow out of you through your job, through what you do professionally? So, and I think with this, with Silverton Capital, with ALX Real Estate, with ALX Realty, say yes, it lines up. Our purpose is much greater than these businesses, much greater than what we're doing here professionally, but it's not much greater in how we impact the people that we impact through these businesses. And they need to see us having fun. They need to see us doing excellent work. They need to see us working hard. All that stuff comes naturally if you're able to win by doing what you were created to do on a regular basis.
I think that's one of the most important things that a business owner or an employee or a stay-at-home mom that is working, to raise children. That's one of the most important things that you could find, is that this is the purpose that God has made me to be. And this, I'm doing the thing that he has called me to every day, even if it's not perfect. And sometimes it's messy and you don't enjoy every single,
it's hard,
minute of your day, but yeah, it's very hard, but it's so important.
But it's hard, and it always will be. Like, just because you enjoy doing something that is not easy.
Right.
Not
I see what you're saying.
all.
Right.
But there's conviction and purpose that helps you can get through the difficulty. When you get knocked down, you do hop back up, or you keep fighting because you have that conviction of purpose. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, and oftentimes, like I said, you're not enjoying it because you're not able to express who you were created to be in a meaningful way. Then when you get knocked down, when things get hard, you're going to react differently. You may not come back as strong, or you might harbor some bitterness or resentment just because you're not happy, and maybe because you just don't feel purposeful. You just don't feel satisfied in being able to express who you were created to be.
I'm on a similar journey to you. We talked about this before, but I was reading Ecclesiastes recently, and this was Saturday. And the teacher, wisest man ever lived, he said, "There's nothing better to do than to eat, to drink, and be merry." And some of those are, and of course it says fear the Lord, over and over and over again. But some of those little sections where it says that a couple of times, it'll say, and to do your work that God has called you to joyfully. Basically, be glad about the work that God has called you to do. That is literally the lot in life for a human being. So I just think it's the ultimate calling almost.
Absolutely,
in some ways.
Well said. And in doing that, I think if you if you're able to look at that and say, yeah, yes, I feel like that I am doing that. I am pursuing that. I am accepting that. Then it makes it a lot easier to be happy outside of your work too, because
Yeah.
you're not so concerned about the comparisons. And I think the comparisons will rob your joy, right? Because some of us, like, depending on what we're called to do, the outcomes are going to look different. But we have to understand that if we're called to if we're doing what we're called to do, and we have peace and joy in doing that, then it won't matter. There is nothing better. The outcomes may look different, but the joy and peace inside is what ultimately is going to determine whether you live a good life, whether you're content with your life. It won't be the outside, outcomes of circumstances. So, but if we can accept that, like you said, just like Solomon said, or the teacher, I know in Ecclesiastes, if we can accept that, then I think that's what he's saying is, then all of a sudden, you're not so concerned with what everybody else is doing or what everybody else is getting. And then there comes a lot more joy and satisfaction in your life. It's like, but this is this is what I was created to do. These are the skills I was given. And you leave it up to God too. You leave the outcomes up to God. God, I think if we're just faithful in pursuing who he called us to be, faithful and trying to determine that, like faithful in seeking that out. And he has the answers. Like the truth to this too is we act like it's really difficult, and there's a process to it, and it does take time. But God knows the answer. It's not something that we need to come up with, on our own. Like, man, there's some clues, right? God gives us clues and he reveals things to us, but it's not something like we just have to figure out, hey, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with my life. And I felt that way. Like, so don't get me wrong, I've felt that way. But there is someone who has the answer. So it's a matter of seeking it out and determining that. And then that's where you get, if you believe that God created you and he loves you more than you can ever imagine, and he gave you this amazing call in your life with these amazing skills and characteristics, and there's only one you. There's only one you and your reflection of God, the most powerful, awesome being in existence. And he put some of it, like he reflected who he is in you. If you believe that, then what he has for you and what he has in store for you and the plans he has for you are as good as it's going to get. And if we try to, and when he created you he knows that. He knows that because God doesn't see things like the way we do, right? He's not looking at, status and power and money and all those things. But he knows that if you follow him and you pursue what he created you to be, then that is the best life you can possibly live. And what I mean by is that's the most joy and peace that you'll have. And if you have conviction, and if you have that joy and peace, then, if you look at your neighbor and your neighbor's, got more than you, what you think, like in a worldly perspective, then it doesn't matter so much, right? Because, it's much bigger than that, and it's much greater than that.
Yeah. Yeah, Proverbs talks over and over and over again about just how the wise are like this oak tree, that has deep roots. They feel, secure and safe and content and at peace. And they can, basically provide shade and shelter to others around them. That is the life well lived. I read this tweet recently. It said, if you are a business owner and you can take your spouse to lunch, or you can go pick up your kids from school or whatever, and like you have built a business that you can do that flexibly and not worry, then you're successful. And I think there's so much to that. Like, it's not about, I'm going to go raise, $100 million for a Series B, whatever. I'm going to launch this big tech company or whatever. And it's like, no, if you can just go to lunch with your spouse, go pick up your kids, spend time with them, you're doing it. You're doing well. I know for y'all, relationships are so important, and honoring the relationships that have come before you, the relationships that you have now, the relationships that are coming later, your kids, perhaps. And so the Silverton brand is to honor the legacy and, the family that has come before you. You said, with your dad and his family and all of that, and what you guys have built at ALX. Can you talk a little bit about that, about Silverton and what that means to you?
Yeah, so Silverton is in reference to Silverton, Texas, and that's where my dad was born, and so that's where my grandparents lived. I don't know how many years there, for many years out there. I think my dad was born there, and then he went up until he went to high school, and then moved to San Angelo. So Silverton is really just honoring the legacy that came before us. And it was important to me to honor my dad as well, who's been instrumental in us getting here today, and will be instrumental in us in where we go from here. But when we're going through names, kind of talking about, hey, what does the name want to be? How do we want to brand it? Does go back to relational. We want to put a personality to the brand. We want to make it more meaningful. And for us, my dad is, like I said, just been a critical figure for us, but he also displays a character that we want to take with us and display out to people. We want who he is to be a representative of who we are. We want to try to become more like him and just as what it means to be, I mean, a father, a friend, a great husband, incredibly successful. He's in oil and gas, but he's been in real estate for the last several years. But just and a successful business person, and I'm convinced. I mean, he's incredibly smart, but I'm convinced that a lot of his success comes from the way he treats other people. And so we want to exemplify that, and we want to honor that, and we want to we want the business to personify not just who he is, but where he came from, and who he is, but also who we are. But as kind of the head of our house, we want to honor him, and it was my idea to name Silverton Cap. He thought it was pretty cool when I brought it to him. But there's not a better person. He's very involved, so it means something there too. But there's not a person that we would I can't think of anyone else that we would rather like esteem to be like. So really impactful, really important for us. It also gives us that extra accountability to if like Silverton Cap means something. Like it means something. We're going to build on. It's not just about us. It's about who came before us, and it is about who's going to come after us. And this is just a reminder that we're just a small part of a much bigger story, and we will remember the people that came before us, the people who are with us now, and we want to have that. We want to for that type of culture, that perspective to carry on beyond us. So everyone will always know when they look back. Well, Silverton Cap, God willing, it's successful. The story of where the name come from will always be front and center. And then also the buffalo itself. There were buffalo in the Silverton area for a long time. I think there's still some there, but in that area. But really, the buffalo it works out because of the history of buffalo in that area. But also, my father-in-law, who designed the original logo, raises buffalo. So that was cool to us too. And Clark's been instrumental for us as well. He's been behind us 100%. He's a great man too. So it's important to us to like I said, personify some of these things, and really put more meaning behind them than just a catchy name or a cool logo. Now, I think the logo is really cool. We're very happy with it, and that was part of the consideration. It was, well, how do we bring this all together, but then also make it attractive? I mean, that's an important thing too. But and I think that's been accomplished. But it's just important to drive home some legacy and to have a foundation built on some things that we think are really important, and to show honor to where honor's due to these guys.
Yeah, what a legacy. It makes me think of that verse where Paul is like, follow me as I follow after Christ. And it sounds like your dad has left this, basically this legacy, this wake behind him that you're able to follow and lead your family. So I guess that leads me to this last question. You think your kids will follow in real estate and take over ALX one day?
I hope so. I hope so. And, we got a lot of work to do to make it, I feel like at ALX, we're just getting started. I feel like a lot of things are coming together. Like, so we've had a lot of experiences and different things, and I feel like we're really starting to hone in on where we can best fit and where we can best serve people. And so I'm really excited about this next iteration, and these three brands really work well together and play off of each other. So we've got a lot of work to do, but yes, I am very hopeful that I'm not so much hopeful that if they come in or not is not as important to me, but it's that they have the option to. I want to build a business that gives them an option, something they can be excited about. And one, if we can figure out what they're really good at, and this will be important for every generation, but just like what I'm saying now is, the financial aspect, the transactional aspect of real estate is where we think we fit. My kids are going to fit somewhere else. I mean, they might have some of the same characteristics and skill set and giftings and passions that we have now. But I also see things in my kids all the time, like, man, this, you could be a great builder, or you've got some really cool, unique skills that I'm seeing. They could play themselves out in other ways. So maybe they not only do they have an opportunity to join the business, in several years, but they have an opportunity to expand it and make it better and add different offerings and serve in different ways. But if we as a team can set it up to where they have the opportunity to do that, and they can step in and they have a launching point to do that, then that would be amazing. That would be really cool. And a legacy business is obviously one we want to have impact, well beyond ourselves, because that's how we know God's involved, right? If it lives and dies with us, that doesn't mean God's not involved. I mean, not at all. God's involved in all things, but if we're doing things the right way, God willing, then it's not about us, and God is taking the business out of our hands and giving it to the next generation, so that He can continue to have His way with it. But yeah, I would love it if my kids were a part of that, and I will certainly give them that opportunity if they want it. And if I believe it's something that they're going to be able, just like we talked about, pursue who they are, pursue who they were made to be, develop in their skills and gifts. If there's a role for them to do that, that's important too. Not just, hey, do you want to do this because it's here? But do you want to do this? It's here for you. Do you want to do this? And does it check that other box of, yeah, this is gonna help you become who you were created to be? And so that's my hope. If we can check those two, one, that it's even available for them to do it, and two, that it does line up with who I think they were created to be and allows them to grow in that. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
That'd be, I mean, that's what it's about. I love that perspective that you have long-term, relational, family-oriented, but something that can serve many generations after this, including your own kids. It's really cool. Well, Josh, thank you for your time today. I'm really sad for our audio-only listeners that they didn't get to see that Josh and I are wearing, I think, the same shirt with the same pattern. That's a really, really cool thing that we landed on today. But anyway, Josh, thank you so much for your time. And I'm excited about this new business, excited about Silverton, the legacy that you're building on and leaving behind. And can't wait to hear more about it next time.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.